It is the best time of the week, ladies and gentlemen, because it is time for you guys to get your chance to get on today's show. I'm answering our live questions from our live show on Tuesday. Everything you guys want to know about the Baltimore Ravens, you ask, I answer. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let's do it, guys, okay? Today is the 8th of the month. Happy March 8th, everybody, for those who celebrate. Let's show our guy Lamar Jackson some love and spam those 8s in the comment section down below. Do you love him as the QB1 of this team? Do you believe he'll lead the Ravens to a Super Bowl? If so, spam those 8s in the comment section. We got our first question coming in from Kane. I believe this is a first-time question asker, so welcome, Kane. Saying hashtag Ravens, will the Ravens sign Davante Adams or will they draft a receiver? I don't think they're going to sign Davante, although I would love it if they signed Davante. I think he's going to get somewhere around 2 years, $22 million. I believe after hearing Eric DeCosta speak at the scouting combine, they're really, really confident about their ability to re-sign Ronnie Stanley. That's going to take up about $21, $22, $23 million. Don't know if they'll want to spend pretty much all of their cap space on 2 players in both Adams and Stanley. And with even saying that, they don't have that money yet. They can get there. They don't have it yet. And say they do get there, I don't think they're going to spend it all on 2 guys. I think they will draft a receiver. They might sign a free agent like a vet. An older vet that would be much cheaper, like $11 million a year, something like that. But I don't see Davante Adams. I would love them to go receiver in like 3rd or 4th round. I think you could still get some really good ones that late in the draft. Next up, we got Yaz. Is that Luca? R.I.P. Luca. So sad. Yaz says, hashtag Ravens. Any update of Ravens making more cap room? Moving on, Mark or anyone else? No update as of yet. The moving on of Marcus Williams last Friday, that's going to save up about $2 million in cap space. So you can add that potentially. Other than that, nothing yet. They could save a lot if they trade or cut Mark. We know that. They could save 4.3 if they release Justin Tucker as a post-June 1st cut. They're going to extend Derrick Henry. Now, how much and how quickly that happens, I don't know. After Saquon Barkley signed his most recent extension, I think that makes the extension of Derrick Henry a little bit more difficult to get to. But doing all those things, that will clear up more cap space. Those things just haven't gotten done yet. Next up, we got Keezy TV. Hashtag Ravens. Should the Ravens draft a Maryland player since they have success in the league, such as Stephon Diggs, DJ Moore, Tarheeb still, etc. I wouldn't mind. They drafted Bo Braid last year. Actually, I think Bo Braid might have been a UDFA. Bo Braid was a UDFA, so they didn't draft him. But I wouldn't mind drafting a Maryland player. Ty Felton, the wide receiver out of Maryland, I think you could get him in like the 5th or 6th round. I think he'd be a really good pick for that value. I wouldn't mind. I don't think they need to go out of their way to draft players from Maryland, but if they get Felton, it kind of goes in line with DJ Moore and Stephon Diggs in that wide receiver room. Wouldn't mind late in the draft. Up next, we got PD 1.0. Should the Ravens trade for Khalil Mack? Well, they won't have to trade for him. He is a free agent, PD, so they could sign him. And I would love it. Again, it's going to be hard with the money that they do have, right? They are probably going to pay Ronnie Stanley. That's going to be around $21 million. Khalil Mack, probably going to be around $21, $22, $20 million. And so you're looking at right there, that's $40 million of cap space. Now, they could shift things and move things to signing bonuses and put cap hits later in the contract, things like that. There's ways to work around it. But for where you sit right now with $11 million of cap space, I don't know if it can work out. I would love it too. I love Khalil Mack. I think he's still got a lot left in the tank. This has worked for Baltimore in years past of getting aging edge rushers. And so I think Khalil Mack would be great. And I think he'd look great in a Baltimore uniform. That's just me. Sound off for me, though. Should the Ravens sign Khalil Mack? Let me know in the comments section. Give me a sign. Give me a pass. What would you do, and what should the Baltimore Ravens do? Let me know right now. Next up, we got Carson Wilson. Carson with a K. What's up? Hashtag Ravens. Will the Ravens trade Mark? I don't know. I hope they do, because you would save a lot of money and you'd still get something back. I'm not just saying that because of the drop. I'm not just saying that because of the fumble. I'm not just saying that because of how bad he was in that playoff game against Buffalo, but I just think it's what's best for your team. You already have a really good asset right behind him in Isaiah Likely. And I know what makes Isaiah Likely great. A lot of that is Mark Andrews. I still think Isaiah Likely is good enough to make that jump even without Mark there. And when you can save $11 million for a team that ranks 24th in the NFL in cap space, I think it's a no-brainer, okay? I would trade him. Denver, Los Angeles, both of those possibilities. I don't think that they'll trade him. I think they'll end up restructuring his deal. That's just my opinion. But great question, Carson. Next up, we got Landry Sports 16, hashtag Ravens. Will the Ravens restructure the defense in order to please Lamar Jackson and the offense? Do you mean, Landry, like restructure the defense's contracts or restructure how the defense runs? Yeah, I think I think what you're asking is like, will they restructure those deals maybe to make some more space or re-up the defense, as in like re-sign those players or upgrade? Oh, maybe it's upgrade. That's where we're going to go. Upgrade the defense. We're just going to say that. I hope so. I think that's going to be a ton of focus in this draft. Yeah, I think this draft of the 11 picks they have now, I don't think they'll be making 11 on draft day. I think they're going to trade some around. Say they make 10, I think 7 are going to be defensive players. And I think the offensive picks is going to be wide receiver and offensive lineman. Okay, so I think they're going to put a lot into making the defense better, to making sure that side of the football is strong and secure, and hopefully getting some guys who can create some turnovers in some big games in the playoffs. Next up, Kimberly Harmon. What's up, Kimberly? Good to see you. Say hashtag Ravens. Who do you want to bring back on the Ravens and why? For the free agents, I would love to bring back Pat Ricard. Would love to bring back Ronnie Stanley. Would love to bring back Ardarius Washington. Now, Ardarius Washington is a restricted free agent, so he's not unrestricted yet. So if some team says they'll pay him this much, we can match, right? That's pretty easy. However, Pat Ricard, Ronnie Stanley, I think are 3 guys that are really important to this team. Pat Ricard, from a leadership perspective, all he does in this run defense. Ronnie Stanley as the left tackle, as the bell cow of this offensive line. Maybe that's Tyler Linderbaum, but he still had a fantastic 2024. I think Patrick Ricard is really, really useful. Does he get some penalties every now and then? Yes, of course he does. But still, I think he's really, really useful. And just the fact that he's a Swiss Army knife. He can play anywhere on the offensive line. Would love to keep him in Baltimore. If you guys want to keep something, I think you should keep this for your dresser drawers, okay? Because right now, you can go to chatsports.com/Ravens t-shirt, and you get that shirt. Little purple rising, right? Purple shirt, gold logo, super cool. 33% off. It was $30. It's now just $20. Just one $20 bill. You could go home with this, okay? Chatsports.com/Ravens t-shirt. I know the weather's getting warmer in Baltimore, okay? That means sun's out, guns out. And let me tell you, whether you want to wear it as a t-shirt or cut off the sleeves, I'm not your mom. Do whatever you want. You can find this $20, 33% off, chatsports.com/Ravens t-shirt. Up next, we got Papa Shook, as I itch my nose. Say hashtag Ravens with secondary changes coming up. Does Nate Wiggins take a step forward as our bona fide number 2? Yeah, I think he does. I think he really does. I think he kind of was already taking that step towards the end of this last year. Were there some things he could improve on? Yeah, sure. Of course, he made some rookie mistakes. He had some rookie plays, right? Typical things. But still, you see the speed that he has. You see how good he was in year 1. It's only I don't want to say obvious, but it only makes sense like a guy like that with another year in an NFL weight room with NFL players surrounded by NFL talent and NFL coaches, he'll take a big step from year 1 to year 2. Next up, we got Ravens King, one of our real ones here at the channel, saying hashtag Ravens. Hope we get a cornerback in free agency. There's so much talent in free agency with corners. I agree. I love Charvarius Ward. I love DJ Reed. I love Asante Samuel Jr. Those are three guys that I think are legit cornerbacks that I would love any of those guys on this roster. Samuel will be a little bit cheaper. Ward and Reed, the one run you about $14 million a year. Ward probably 14.5 because he's a little bit younger. But if you make that move and you bring one of those guys into Baltimore to be the replacement for Brandon Stevens, whether he leaves or whether you just bench him, I don't care. Would love that. There's some talent in this cornerback free agency market. Up next, we got Moggs. Hashtag Ravens, trade Loveland or trade Andrews, shoot for Loveland in the draft. Loveland has that Harbaugh connection, can never serve as a wide receiver 3 and tight end 2 behind Likely. Ultimately, find another legitimate wide receiver, in my opinion. I would love to trade Andrews. Loveland, I don't think, is going to fall to 27. You talk about that Harbaugh connection. He has that connection with the wrong Harbaugh. And I don't think that Harbaugh is going to let him fall past, I think they're like 24, 22 maybe. I don't think Harbaugh is going to let him fall to 27. I think if he's still there, I think that Jim is going to draft him. But on your end point, I think this team needs to find another legitimate wide receiver. Not that I don't believe in Rashad Bateman or Zay Flowers, but I'm just greedy. Give me another one. I want another one. Up next, we got Keezy TV. Do you think we go out and sign big play Slay? I actually made a video about that on Tuesday, and I would love it. He was almost a Baltimore Raven in 2023 when he was a free agent. I think this team needs a big press man corner. He was fantastic in the playoffs, had a 77 coverage grade on PFF, had 14 pass breakups this year in 2024. Battled through injuries. Sure, he's getting a little bit older, but man, I mean, come on. You'd be kidding yourself if you didn't think he'd be great in this cornerback room. I don't think he'd be crazy expensive either, okay? And he's already almost come to Baltimore once. I think he might do it again. Detroit is probably the leader of who he'll go to. His home is still in Detroit. That's like a second home to him. It's where he played a lot of his ball. They're needing for corners. They're needing for secondary. So I think I'd expect him to go there. But if he doesn't, I'd love him in Baltimore. We got our last question of the day coming in from, oh, yeah. We had the Kool-Aid man. Saying, who's a free agent on the offensive and defensive side of the ball you want the Ravens to sign? Good question. I think I'm going to go legitimate, right? Legitimate on each side. Chris Godwin, I think, would be really good in this offense. He's the only, he's kind of young. He's 29 years old. Everybody else that's a wide receiver and that's a free agent is like 30-something, like Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Hopkins. All of those guys I don't necessarily want. Wouldn't mind Allen. Wouldn't mind them to be big possession wide receivers, but still, they don't really do much for me. Chris Godwin is coming off an injury. I think he'd be a little bit cheaper. I think he'd be a great addition to this wide receiver room. Josh Palmer is also a guy. I think he'd be a great wide receiver 3. And then on defense, I think Dre Greenlaw. I think that Dre Greenlaw has had an incredible career. I grew up an Arkansas fan because my dad went to Arkansas, so I watched him play a ton of college ball, knew he was going to be a stud in the National Football League, and he is, man. Obviously, he had that horrible Achilles tear in Super Bowl 58. Super Bowl 58. Had a really bad Achilles tear against the Kansas City Chiefs. Played a little bit this past year, was good, not obviously to his normal self, but, man, him next to Roquan Smith, I would absolutely love that. I mean, that would be unreal. And he's also used to playing with a star in Fred Warner, okay? So it wouldn't be new territory for him. Pick one of those two guys to sign, okay? Chris Godwin, Dre Greenlaw. If you had to choose between the two, who are you going with? Let me know in the comments section down below. As always, appreciate you guys for watching all the way to the end of these videos. Thanks so much for all the people who ask questions, all the real ones out there who join us every Tuesday for our live show. We'll be live again next upcoming Tuesday, so make sure you don't miss it. Hit that sub button.